So, first place to start then is the if statement. And it's a conditional. It's called conditional because what happens depends on a condition of some kind. If this is true, do this. If something else is true, do that. So that's why we call all these things that we're going to talk about today conditional. So we make decisions based on some kind of condition. And the general syntax of a conditional, or certainly of an if, is something like this. If the condition is true, then do the statements 1, 2, and so on. So you'll notice they're indented. So in Python, we indent things after if statements, so that means that anything, when the condition is true, then we'll do these statements. But if it's not true, then these statements don't get executed. So we have a slightly different method of flow through our programs. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's see an example first of all. Oh yes, and don't forget to look at W3 Schools for a bit more information about this. So here's our first example. We're going to do this calculator that will do either addition or subtraction, depending on whether the user types in plus or minus. And in Python, we can check what the user's typed in by using this equals equals operator. This is known as a comparison operator. We'll see more of these things later on. And if you see these equals equals, you can read that as being is equal to. So if you look at this bit of code, it says if the operation is equal to plus, then combination is number 1 plus number 2. If the operation is equal to minus, then the combination is number 1 minus number 2. Okay, so it's just checking what the user's typed in and then doing the calculation depending on what they've typed in. So the whole program then is shown here. We ask the user for the first number using the input, and then we convert that into an integer using this int. Same for the second number. Then we ask them what operation they want. So we ask them with input, operation plus or minus, and if they type in plus, we add them together, and if they type in minus, we subtract them, and then we print out the answer, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, the combination will be calculated either way. Okay, so let's just run that one. So open it up in idle. There's the code, and if I run that, let's put in 2 plus 2, and we're going to add them together, and we get 4. If I run it again, 2 and 1, and I minus them, 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so you can see the program is doing different things depending on how we're answering that question, which operation do we want, and it's based on this decision that happens depending on these conditions. If the operation is equal to plus, if that condition is true, then we add them together, and vice versa if it's equal to minus. Okay, so there's how the code works. We read in the first number, we convert it, read the second, convert it, read in the operation, and do the calculation depending on which operation is chosen. And finally output the answer. Okay, so I mentioned that this creates a different flow of control through the program. So in the previous examples, all the ones we've seen so far, the flow of the control through the program has been a downward stream of steps. So one step after another. So we have, this is true of all the programs we've seen so far, you have one statement and then the next statement and then the next statement. These are executed by Python as it works its way through the code. Okay, so for example, when we were doing the turtle example, go forward, turn left, go forward, turn left. It does it one after the other. And this is, perhaps we haven't talked about this before, but that's the way that programs typically work. They do this linear sequence from top to bottom. But there are times when that changes. We'll see lots of examples where it changes. And conditionals change the flow of control through the program. So maybe we do a statement, or the program does a statement, then there's an if condition. If the condition is true, then you do these statements and then go back to the program. And if the condition is false, you don't do these statements off to the right, and we then just jump straight to the following statement. Okay, so we call this, it's sometimes called a one-armed conditional, because you can see there's an arm on one side that it will do these statements if the condition is true and not if it isn't. If the condition isn't true, then those statements are never executed. Okay, I'm going to stop that video here, and the next video will be on the else statement.